All right, welcome to the Anton Stetner podcast. Today we're asking the question, is the Trump administration trying to create a recession? And what does that mean for real estate? This will be real juicy for those blue-pilled people. Because I will tell you, I've been wondering, the markets have kind of been crashing. Crypto isn't doing so well. I mean, like crazy dips. Except when Trump tweets and then like it always spikes, but it's gone down again. And eggs are expensive.
Yep.
Of course, you could argue like when did that all start? But recession, what's your thoughts here? What's going on?
An analyst wrote from Numera, and I may have said that incorrectly, an article about this, and this triggered this. But what's interesting too is I've been getting asked these questions. Like, are we headed into a recession? Is the administration trying to cause a recession? It doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. Like, this is on like people's mind. And then Trump was just in front of Congress. He just gave his speech. It was almost like the unofficial State of the Union. And one quote I want to bring up out of that is he said, "My highest priority is to rescue the economy and get dramatic and immediate relief for working families." And then, of course, he just blamed the inflation on the Biden administration. So today, kind of the quick thoughts of what I want to do is I want to talk about, like, what are they trying to do to get inflation down? How could this be pushing us into an actual recession? How a recession could be beneficial, how it could hurt us, and then what that means for us in real estate and what it means for all of us as investors. And then as usual, man, like if you have any thoughts or ideas or economic thoughts as we're going through this, like hit me. So what's Trump's like overall plan? The overall plan is they want tax cuts. They want corporate tax cuts. They want individual tax relief for taxpayers. They want deregulation. They believe the deregulation is going to speed up the economy. They're looking for energy reform, aka drill, baby, drill. Let's get back to producing more oil. Let's produce more oil faster. We're a petroleum-based economy. We get more oil in the system. It gets cheaper. See, what people don't realize is if we make a bunch more oil or just energy in general, that's disinflationary. That's anti-inflation. Of course, the trade policies, now this is the hot button, the hot potato, and that's tariffs. Okay, and we're going to come back to tariffs. And then, of course, DOGE with their attack on federal spending, their attack on government waste, on fraud. They're looking for spending cuts. They're looking for reductions in the American workforce. And they're looking for us to get to lower interest rates. So let's just talk about tariffs real quick. Tariffs came out yesterday, and the stock market dropped 650 points. Like, what the American public doesn't like is it doesn't like unknowns. And we're on this weird teeter-totter with tariffs where they're on, they're off. They're on, they're off. My point personally, I'm kind of anti-tariff. And the reason I'm anti-tariff, I'm a real estate guy. Every time you put some type of a tariff in place, it makes it harder and more expensive for us to build properties, for us to repair them, for us to maintain them, which slows down the sales velocity. So I'm anti-tariff. If we flip it over and look at Joseph Wang, the Fed guy, also here on YouTube, he's like, tariffs are the most bullish thing for the American economy long term, and goes into a great argument about it. So if you want to see a pro to the side, go listen to what he said on his YouTube channel. But this idea, very simply, is as we impose tariffs, as we cut government waste, what if the Trump administration is trying to engineer a recession today? And when I say that, like, where does that make you feel emotionally when I say engineer a recession?
Just hard times coming up in the short term.
Hard times coming up in the short term. Plus, there's going to be people that get hurt. So like tariffs, recessions, they're not surgical. You know, they're like
Blunt. really blunt moves.
It's like a hurricane or a tsunami. It just comes in, it smashes a bunch of stuff, and then there's some destruction left in its wake. So the idea is that if we put these tariffs in place, and President Trump even said in his address that we might experience some short-term pain because of this. We might see a near-term slowdown. So what if he's thinking, what if we have a slowdown for the first quarter in 2025, or maybe the second quarter? We blame it on Biden, and then we build out of it. How could we make a recession positive? It's kind of hurts your brain to think about it, but I want our listeners to go deep for a second. If we start to go into recession, what happens to jobs?
Start losing jobs, or people get laid off.
People get laid off. Unemployment claims rise.
Definitely not hiring as much for sure.
Job growth slows. What also slows is wage growth. Wage growth is inflationary. And what we're seeing right now is over the last few months, we've seen a resurgence in inflation. You've seen some of those inflation readings come in a little hotter than we want to. Well, if the American consumer stops spending, or they're being pinched, like you mentioned, with eggs, and they slow down their spending, that's going to be anti-inflationary. If they don't have jobs, of course, that's anti-inflation. Also, as the economy slows down, what happens to the US dollar? Does it go up or down?
I think does it go up?
Goes down.
Oh, it goes down. I don't know this stuff. Yeah.
No. It's okay. But this is the reason I want to ask the question and get everyone involved. As our economy slows down, the dollar weakens. Big thing Trump's been talking about? He's been talking about bringing manufacturing home, building stuff in America. You can't build stuff in America if it's expensive to put the factory together, if the materials are expensive, and if the wages are expensive. So if you drive down the value of the dollar, because the dollar's high right now relative to other currencies, foreign money comes into our country and it makes it cheaper, quicker, easier to build at home. So I kind of read this and I was like, man, this is some BS conspiracy theory stuff. And then I sat down and I was like, wait a second. Holy Toledo. This could be full on legit.
It's like chess moves here.
This is the mad scientist playing with nitroglycerin in one hand and matches in the other, because it could kind of go either way. The problem is, if this gets out of control, let's just assume they are doing it. If this gets out of control, this is one of those things that can lead to stagflation and lead to another great financial crisis and maybe even a depression. What that does, though, is it allows them to usher in the next level of their economic agenda and build America back. Now, I'm going to go into kind of the tariff idea. The tariff idea, they put out there, they said, hey, we're putting tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Canada and Mexico capitulated, troops moved in, great. But then the bar keeps moving. And now we're saying, hey, for even value-added taxes in the EU, we're going to tariff those. The problem with tariffs is tariffs has the ability to start an all-out trade war, and we've agreed already to escalate. So we've got to put some pressure on this, and we've got to fulfill on some of this. Otherwise, everyone will call our bluff. But what's that going to do to the economy?
It's going to put it into a recession. It's going to slow it down. And like you said, people don't like unknowns, so they just won't make moves.
Bingo. So the stock market dropped, and we're blaming Biden. But what we're doing is we're making it cheaper to invest in America. So GDP now. This is from the Atlanta Fed. Their forecast for Q1 was 3.9%. Its estimate on March 3rd dropped to negative 2.8%. That's a massive change in the forward-looking indicator of the GDP. Once again, this is done by our own government, GDP now.
Minus from 3.9?
From 3.9 positive to negative 2.8.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah,
Isn't that like Great Depression kind of stuff?
No. It's not that bad. But
wow.
This right here, if this does come to fruition, is a massive slowing down of our economy while you're seeing the consumer starting to spend less, while you're seeing the 90-day lates on auto loans and credit card debts rise. They're at a 14-year high right now. So the consumer is running out of money and spending less. So our economy is slowing in front of us. What I'm saying is these not blunt instruments, these, bombs that we're calling tariffs, as you put them in place, are going to cause us to slow down more. And so the question is are they trying to manufacture recession? Drop it in the comments. Let me know what you feel in relation to this. I'm 50-50 right now. We're going to let the data go. I don't have a call one way or another. But the next thing that came out this week was the ADP report. The ADP is the jobs report that reports private payrolls. It came out today, this morning. 77,000 jobs were added in February with expectations of 148,000. That was half. Now, some of this may be seasonality. Some of this may be the fact that it was really cold in January. I mean, there may be other explanations. But the problem is my tea leaves are starting to point in a certain direction. And what I want to tell our listeners and our subscribers all the time, understand that I am a cautiously optimistic individual. I'm kind of always preparing for the worst and planning for the best. But I got plans A, B, C, D, E, and F on everything. Some of this is starting to give me the EBGBs. But if I flip the coin over, this is also making me grin like a stupid little boy in relation to real estate.
Because now we talk about the Fed.
Bingo.
And what do they do when they see these data points? Because we haven't seen them in such a long time. And we haven't seen them happen kind of naturally.
Yes.
Because you can't call 2020, COVID, pandemic, lockdowns, money printing natural. That was like an emergency. And this is like, hey, let's slow this down. The way I look at it, if I were to sum up everything you said, if this is the master plan of the Trump administration, it's like a reset of the business and economic landscape.
It's absolutely that.
It's like bring it back down to earth a little bit. And then what happens? You get rid of the weak links, weed out the kind of like speculative stuff.
Yes.
And then you're left with basically the best.
I'm going to say this a different way. This is a controlled burn where you burn the forest down, and the forest that they're burning down is the economy's addiction to government spending and government waste.
I was going to say blackberry bushes, but
okay,
yes.
Blackberry bushes.
Yeah.
Then we rebuild the economy based on American ingenuity, manufacturing, and American greatness, with AI and crypto leading part of that charge, with manufacturing leading part of that charge. That's why he's going to Apple. That's why he's going to TMSC. That's why he's going to all these people and trying to get them to bring money here to put it into our country. So what's the Federal Reserve doing? One of their board members, I didn't write this in the notes, came out today and he said, we're not ready to cut yet based on the data. We feel we're in a comfortable position, but the CME Fed Watch tool started pricing in 3 rate cuts again where they were only pricing in 1. Then went and looked at Polymarket. Polymarket is that giant betting market where you could just literally bet on anything. Polymarket is now up to a 37% chance of a recession this year. Polymarket's done a pretty good job at predicting things. Secretary Bessent said on Friday, the housing market is stuck right now, but it will unfreeze in weeks. That's an actual quote of what he said. What does he know? What is he seeing? So 3 things. What's stuck that's going to unfreeze? Is he seeing something in the data, in the forward-looking data that isn't public yet? Does he understand Trump's plan? And let's keep going with this engineered recession idea. Or is he talking about the seasonality of the real estate market? Or number 4, is he talking about cheap debt that's coming? Because he made it very clear. You heard Elon say it. You heard our Treasury Secretary say it, and you heard Trump say it. We're focused on getting the 10-year down, and the 10-year is what controls consumer debt, because if the 10-year comes down, it's relief to consumers instantly. Well, what's been happening to the 10-year? The 10-year Treasury has been consistently trending down. We talked about this on our previous episode where we talked about it in relation to Doge. But the 10-year Treasury is trending down, and it dropped significantly yesterday because the stock market got beat up. Understand, when the stock market drops 650 points, money goes into bonds. As more demand goes into bonds, they have an inverse function, and the yield goes down. So rates went down. So debt yesterday was basically 6.7. I haven't looked again today.
Wow. When was it 6.7 last?
It was 6.7 last year, approximately, let's call it October. So, third quarter of last year, it was that. And as rates trend down, what our listeners know is that real estate gets cheaper and more affordable to buy, which means demand goes up. So when we looked at the numbers here in the Seattle Metro, it was showing up like 8% month over month. So February to February was up about 8%. And I said to my team yesterday, as we were looking at the numbers together, I said, ladies and gentlemen, there's the 10-year. What direction is that going? They said down. I said, what does that mean for debt? They said cheaper debt. I said, if we appreciate 8.8% from February to February, that's month over month, where do you expect that appreciation to go over the next 12 months? They said, holy cow, we might hit 10%.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we might hit 10% again here in the Seattle Metro.
I don't know if I'm spoiling it. It's funny, I always want to make bets to fill this book up, but we're kind of on the same page based off of what you just said. There's going to be a short window where you got to buy what you want to buy.
That's what we just said. We said, call your sphere of influence, say, look at the 10-year Treasury, look at what's happening in the economy, look at where we're going. It's going to get cheaper, more affordable to buy real estate. I got 2 bank loans this week, and they said, you're not hitting the debt service coverage ratio on one of them, and then on one of them, they wanted us to put more money into it. I said, no, I'll just go shop it. He goes, let me push back against the underwriter. Magically approved. Approved with a 0.5 point less on the origination fee relative to the general public, number one. Approved also with no prepayment penalty. And so I asked him, I said, hey, I thought you were going to put a prepay in this. Most commercial debt has a prepayment penalty. And he said, no, because we believe debt's going to get cheaper and that we want you to refi out, but we also want you to stay with us.
When was that?
It was yesterday.
Oh my gosh. So that's a signal from the bank's
Yes.
confidence
Yes.
in lower rates.
Yes, exactly. So we just went and got a couple $1 million worth of debt from them. And they'd put no prepayment on it. And I said, hey, thank you. Tell the underwriter thank you. Tell the board thank you. We'll make sure we keep this business with you. So they're building the relationship to make sure I don't move the money somewhere else because they believe that debt's going to get cheaper. To our real estate people, one of the things that you've seen in multifamily is you've seen cap rates rise. But I think we're already starting to hit that inflection point here in the Seattle Metro because in February, I saw a couple properties sell at like 5.5 or a 6 cap. Now all of a sudden, you're starting to see 5.5s and 5s. I don't see any more 6s. In other words, it's already tightening up in the market right in front of us. Once again, part of that may be seasonality, but it doesn't matter. What you just said is so true, Benji. We've got a great window of opportunity today. And as debt gets cheaper, and the 10-year trends down, there's going to be more demand, which is going to cause prices to rise faster.
So then what's the quick recap and summary and suggestions for buyers, sellers, investors right now?
I think the quick recap is I want you to ask yourself, is the administration trying to engineer a recession or at least a slowdown? So the dollar's a bit cheaper. They can bring manufacturing home. They can have these tariff wars, and they can kind of get us off of the massive government spending. Second, I want you to look at your budget, and I want you to cut a little bit of your budget. Right now is a time to cut a little bit of the budget, to cut a little bit of the frivolous spending. You should tighten it up. We should have a little bit extra cash, and you should be making offers. I said to one of our investors, a young gentleman, you need to go make 100 offers. He goes, what? I was like, yeah, make 100. I was like, if you made 100, you would get anywhere between 1 to 10 amazing deals. And so I want to encourage people to just go write more offers today. Go looking for the motivated seller. Now, in somewhere like the Seattle Metro where we're at, where there's like no inventory on the market, you're probably not going to find that motivated seller on the market. You're going to find them off the market. That's one thing we do for our buyers, our investors, is we help them hunt these off-market properties, find these amazing deals. But you're looking for people that are motivated because of one reason or another. This inflation hasn't gone away. The cost of debt is still really high. So consumers are being massively pinched. Also yesterday, in Lake Stevens, we got an amazing property under contract. Why? Because the person has a tenant that's not paying. There's some tweakers that are hanging out in the house. So she's squatting. There's tweakers. Got the letter from code enforcement. And so we were able to put together an amazing owner finance deal because this person doesn't want to deal with it anymore. So what I'm telling to you, our listeners, is you need to go find an awesome educated real estate agent who can help you hunt down these off-market properties and find good deals. And you need to start preparing for when debt gets cheaper, what are you going to restructure in your portfolio? For buyers, unfortunately, what we're seeing, the bidding wars are crazy. Sellers, they're getting great prices for their properties. For our land development people, it's so game on like Donkey Kong. We were working on one kind of Everett, Snohomish area, kind of right where they meet. It's a 27 lot plat. Working with that investor. It's not on the market, just having conversations. We have 3 offers. We could go get 50 if we put it on the market. We have 3 without doing anything. And we're just working on solving the timelines and the problems, and we have 3 that just came in. This is someone I started working with like 3.5 years ago. What I want people to be thinking, though, is I need a little extra cash reserves for just in case. This is what I'm saying, cautiously optimistic. Get those reserves up, make a lot of offers, and just have fun, because don't be worried about real estate. One of my other friends calls me, and he goes, bro, I'm worried about real estate. I said, bro, do the math. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, the math is kind of simple. Real estate's already in a transaction recession, so we're at a low right now. And we're at such a low where we are doing base level of real estate. In other words, these are the have to sell, have to buy buyers, not the want tos. And that's about 4 million transactions nationally. It's like, it doesn't even matter if we go into a recession. Real estate's already been in the recession. As debt gets cheaper, we're going to sell more homes. He goes, oh, thank God I called you. And then he goes, how many more homes are we going to sell this year? I said, you'll sell 5 to 15% more doing nothing. He goes, right on, brother, let's go. I said, let's go. Once again, cautiously optimistic. I'm bullish long-term, slight bearish short-term. And if you structure it properly, this is how you win. We made a phenomenal killing coming out of the great financial crisis in 2011, 2012, 2013. I feel like it's repeating itself a little over a decade later. And if you need to reach us for any reason, you can reach us at resg.com and 425-249-0214.